What do you think God is calling our church to do or be in the coming years?
I think there's really a place for Valley Church to be more visible within the community, to be looking more outside of the congregation rather than inside. I think we really have a role to play as a progressive Christian voice in the community. Regardless of what some of the issues are, I think there's a place for Valley Church to really be in the middle of making a difference in some of the issues that come up that tend to play people against each other. I think we can play a role as a mediator in some of these things.
Since I've been here, I've often thought that we were a church that whispered a lot and that we needed to have a voice. And to have a voice, I think we have to listen very hard to folks outside this community. And after we've listened and we have spoken out against oppression and for justice, against discrimination and bigotry, and for acceptance and love, after we've done those things, after we've achieved our voice, I think we have to be very careful not to be the victim of that sneer that says, well, words are cheap. So I think we have to act in a concerted way to make those words real in the life of our community and the life of the church itself.
Well, we're a small church, but in this community, the churches tend to be extremely conservative or non-religious and more spiritual, like the Unitarians. And I think there's this huge group of people in the area that was raised in a Christian community or a Catholic community and is looking for that connection point, but without the conservative judgment and the negative baggage that comes with a conservative church. And so if people knew that we existed and we were out in the community more, I think our pews would be more full than they are today, just because people are looking for it. People say they want to find God in the wilderness. Well, they do, but I think people want that community also that comes with the church.
Well, I've said this many times before, but I think the Valley Community Church, United Church of Christ, offers this community an alternative voice in Christianity. This area has many conservative congregations, shall we say, evangelical folk who embrace a probably a little more conservative view of Christianity than what I think the United Church of Christ has to offer. And so I think we are probably, and I would say this without qualification, that we are a unique voice here, and I think Valley Community Church can really, once it becomes known and people feel like they understand who we are, well, there are going to be people who are drawn and attracted to what we have to say.
I think it's here to give service and spirituality and religion to this side of Grant County. A lot of Silver City, and particularly the mining district.
I think Valley Community Church is probably going to remain a small church with a good, warm, wonderful feeling for everybody who comes. And I also feel that the gospel and the ministers and all are going to be of much importance to us. But I don't ever really, Tyler, see it growing to be a great big church. I just think it has a small town atmosphere, a small community church, and that's what I feel that he wants us to be. Maybe be more involved in the community or encourage people from Silver City, but I don't ever see it as being a big church. From its history, it's always been a small congregation.
I feel that God is calling Valley United Church of Christ to grow our congregation, to grow our families, especially bringing in more youth. And I feel that God is calling us to be in the town of Silver City. I really feel that that's where God is leading us. That's where we're going to grow. I could see our church doubling in size, moving into Silver City. Unfortunately, as beautiful it is in the country, many people do not want to come out here. And I think as beautiful as this church are and the people are, it will always be a detriment because it will be considered a country church. It's out in the country. So I think God is leading us into Silver City where we can grow as a congregation.
I think that God is calling us to really reach out to the youth, that segment of our population that at this point in our history is really missing out on God's, goodness and love. And so I really think that we've been wanting to do that for many years and just have not had the best avenue. And so I really believe that we're being called to really call to the youth, but also to call to other people in Silver City that are missing that spirituality, that we might be a place where they can actually come and find what God is really about.
Well, the thing that I believe Valley is being called for is to continue on its way of being welcoming. I'd like to see more people come to our church, and I think that as time passes, it will. I don't think Valley is the only church that's in a slump, or whatever some people seem to see as a slump. I think other churches are seeing that also, but I don't want us to be too liberal. And I'm not conservative by any manner or means in my personal life, or certainly not the church life. I do like some of the traditions we have, and I don't want to see us lose them. I'd like to see our pews filled up. There's nothing better than having a full house every Sunday.
I think God's calling Valley Church to reach out to the community in the Silver City area. We've been a little bit inwardly focused in the past, and I think there are a lot of people that would like to experience a church like Valley UCC that's open and welcoming to everyone, and I think we need to reach out to them.
Okay, our motto says include, love, and serve. And that's what I think we are called to do, both within the walls of our church building and in our congregation, and then as an outreach into the community and the area. And beyond that, through UCC donations.
But I feel that we need to reach out to more people. We're a very small community here, we're very close, but I think we need more. Silver City's a diverse place. This is not a diverse church.
At least for me, from my perspective, what God is calling us to be or to do is to be the voice of liberal theology in a community that has a lot of conservative churches, a lot of evangelical churches, and interestingly enough, two nice Buddhist communities, a nice Sufi community, but I think we in the United Church of Christ are the only voice for liberal theology in the Silver City area.
Well, I'm hoping that we will be even more open, accepting, and inclusive of the people that are not usually included in the goings-on of life. The people that have serious mental illness, the people in the gay community. I don't know, the homeless maybe. Yeah, I don't know who. But that's what I'm hoping our church, it's too bad we're out so far because it's hard to bring people from Silver City out here. But there's probably a way.
I think God wants us to continue to be the voice of liberal Christianity here in this community. I think there's over 50 faith communities, and as far as I know, we're the only really liberal Christian community, and I think that's a big calling. We're about, what, 40 people, and the county's about 30,000 people. So I've got a big job, so I think that's enough of a job description.
A force for good. It's as simple as that, I think. We certainly need one. And that's, again, that's why I want to be in the church that I feel is trying to make a better world.
Maybe work on people's way of thinking, be more tolerant, and I don't know. Since this is such an open church, I think there should be more on people's mind. More concerts in Silver City directly. I thought so more people could know about it. I don't know, it's a question I would have to think about more.
I think Valley Church is called to provide that progressive alternative to other options in this area.
I think that God is calling, you said calling, is calling this church because there's a lot of good things here. I mean, they don't judge people, and I think that's a good thing. And that is, whether you're, however you are in life, and whatever, I don't remember the motto, but it's a good motto, and I think that's fine.
I think our church is calling us to recognize that we're not alone, that we're all a part of everything that you see and do, and whether it's picking up trash cans when you go for a hike, or whether it's giving the person who chooses to be homeless a smile and maybe a bottle of water. The little things, I think all those little things, like all the little stars in the sky, add up to being the light that is God.
God is calling the church for the many people in Silver City that don't have a church. And it's such a welcoming church that accepts anyone and everyone. And the people of Silver City need this. And I truly feel, after visiting a number of churches, that it doesn't have what the Valley Community Church has with its welcoming aspects.
I think God is calling us to live into what it means to be an inclusive Christian community, and to really live what that means. And I think that part of what that call is to accept that when people come and join our community, we will have to change. They won't have to change. That if we are a community that says, come here and be like us, then we're not living into that call. That if we are willing to say, come, what can I learn from you? Then we will be living into that call to be an inclusive community.
No matter who you are or where you are on life's journey, you are welcome here.